How'd you get your actual WCW deal? Who was your in?
Same deal with there. Scott was getting me booked. Everything I just told you with WWF, that was 2 trips. And WCW just wanted me back. And they were doing a lot more TV at the time with the Disney Universal Studios.
Right.
Are you familiar with those 7 and 10 day runs that we used
Sure.
to do? So they put me to work. I was on those. And then eventually, around 96, when I met you guys, they started, we flew there. Like you said, it was Iowa, maybe it was Minnesota. It was something, but I was still living in Buffalo at the time. And DDP came to me and he said, "Bro, they like you, but you're not going to do anything in Buffalo. You need to get to Atlanta in the power plant." And that's when I was like, you know what? That's what I need to do. And I called JJ Dillon. I said, "Listen, I'll do whatever it takes to get an opportunity. Um, I'll be in Atlanta." I actually had a cousin in Atlanta that I could stay with.
Mhm.
So I drove down there and I was working. They did a lot of TV tapings around Georgia. And then we would drive from Georgia down to Orlando for a 10 day. So I was making some money with them. I think it was $200 a night, but 20, 21 years old, 10-day run, that's 2 grand, man. It's not too
Right.
shabby. And I didn't have any dependents or anything at the time. And but it did, to be honest with you, it did get to a point where I was like, you know what? If this is all it's going to be, I don't know how much longer I can. And then that's when I got the call. JJ called me and said they see a lot of potential in you. Um, I think I was the youngest person at the time when he gave me the contract. It was just before I turned 22, and Rey Mysterio was about a year older than me, and Alex was too. So I was legit the youngest wrestler under contract at WCW, and they gave me a weekly guarantee, and I thought I was a millionaire at that point. I had a nice apartment in Atlanta
Nice.
and a nice car and all that. And I did the wrestler life, man. I laid out by the pool all day to get as tanned as possible with baby oil on and all. And then we'd go work out at Lex's gym, Main Event Fitness. And then when we had TV, boom, you know what I mean? So it was 7 day
Right.
a week. Yeah, they gave me more work. And the office seemed to be behind me. Like Terry Taylor was in there. He was a big pusher of mine. So was Paul Orndorf. He liked me a lot. And JJ liked my gumption, I guess. And I just had a lot of people in the office there that were liked my work and liked my potential to be a main person there.
Who was the boss? Eric at the time?
At the time, Eric was.
Okay.
Kevin Sullivan was the head booker. I didn't think Kevin liked me because if you can remember back at that time period, Kevin was wrestling, but he was killing guys on Nitro in like a minute. And
Right.
he beat the crap out of me every TV match. Finally, I went to Terry Taylor. I said, "Man, what? You guys all seem to like it. Did I do something to Kevin? Why is he loves you. He keeps asking for you. He wants you to be in the TV match. I guess because I sold good and he tried to take great bumps, and he had
Right.
Jackie with him at the time. And he'd throw me out of the ring and she'd give me bumps on the floor. I think they just love that bookers and all, they like guys that put everything into it. You're out
Sure.
there to do a job. You got to work hard too to get the guy over. That's the job for the night. And I think that's what got me in and got me a salary, because they didn't have to give me that. The fact that they gave me that made me believe that this is going to be a long-term job. So it was great.
Disco told me that he's been clotheslined by Jackie and by Rick Steiner, and
Same here.
Jackie clotheslined him harder. That's what he told
She's
me.
she's pretty snug.
Yeah.
She'd do the thing where you were down and she'd straddle you and give you the MMA punches, and if you didn't cover up, man, you'd have lumps all over your. Yeah, she didn't hold back. But what a cool lady. And I did a few matches with Kevin where it was mostly me and her on the outside. And then I got to work with her years later at TNA. So she was a great talent and a great person. A lot of fun to be around.
Who'd you like working with in WCW?
Man, it's hard to. I worked with so many guys there that nobody really stands out as someone I didn't like. I had some really good TV matches with Chavo Guerrero. They booked us together a lot. I had a couple of really good TV matches with Barry Horowitz. Like really, yeah. I think he was under contract at the time too. He was full time. That's where we became friends in WCW. There, I had so many. I had a really good TV match with DDP when he was on the rise. When he got, remember when he got over really big there? It was always fun to wrestle a guy that's really over because the crowd goes nuts and man, it makes the match easier. You know. I was honored to do the match with Goldberg. You know, spear, jackhammer. He did that to everybody. That was you know what I mean? He was the top
Right.
star in the business. So uh, it was fun wrestling the Giant, the Big Show. A couple matches, just because look at these people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, how do you know, anyone I got to work with that I watched on TV. I had a match with Greg the Hammer Valentine, and once again, you know what I mean. Just like the match with Marty Jannetty, I'm like, oh, this is like I was sleeping in high school, and so I'm like dreaming about this. I'm like, I'm really doing this. I'm really wrestling these guys,
I'm
and I'm
so
doing
glad you
exactly
said
what they say. By the way, because there's no doubt in my mind. I don't have any shit to get in. Pardon my language. I never had that mentality. I was taught to, and even if they didn't teach me that, I just knew it. You know what I mean? You just
right.
these guys are the real
Yes.
deal, and I'm trying to be. So they're not going to lead me astray, and I don't have any ideas, or I don't need to have any. So that's just the way I always carried myself with those guys.
I'm so glad you said that guys you watched on TV, because I have that same mentality. Like when you mentioned Paul Orndorf, you mentioned Paul Orndorf liked you. I
Yeah,
remember being in WCW, and yeah, I worked with Shawn Michaels before. I worked with Kurt Angle before. You know, I worked with big name guys.
yeah.
You know how many times I look over and say, "That's Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorf." You know, I mean, come on, we're all fans.
Me and Rhino to this day still talk about Swinger. Do you remember when Paul would walk in with the skin tight shorts and no shirt and the rolled up piece of paper and the flip flops and give you your finish and you're like scared to death that you're just gonna say the wrong. Yeah, exactly. It was like it was yesterday, and he would because he was still working at the time, but he was an agent too, and he used to call me and book me for TVs before I got the contract. So
Yep.
uh, I was very grateful to be over with a guy like him, and just what a huge fan of his when I was a kid too. I mean, look at him. I mean, if he was around today, he'd be a top star. You know, I mean, just the aggressive. Talk about Benoit. I mean, Paul just kicked the living crap out of you. It looked like it, and he looked like a pro bodybuilder, and the Mr. Wonderful and the robe, and it's just like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you had it all.
His matches hold up too. If you watch
Yeah.
them, you're like, I can see that in 2025.
Right. And like I said, I still watch him. I think guys half my age could watch some of that stuff and learn how to really take basic stuff and make it look legit. You still can do it because I do it on the independent shows and I feel those reactions. So I know that. And by the way, there's new kids born every day. So when a 7, 8, 9 year old, you can make them believe. You really can. I know they got the 18 to 34, but don't forget about that 18 back to zero. There's always a whole new crew of kids coming in here that we can entertain with a lot of these old school tactics, as I call them. And it's, why not? You know,
Yeah. Did WCW ever pitch anything to you that didn't happen?
um,
Did you ever pitch anything yourself?
no, like I said, it just wasn't something you did back then. They encouraged that years later when I went to WWE, but WCW was Kevin Sullivan was the booker. You do what he tells you to do. And whoever your agent is, whether it was Terry, Arn, Paul, when they told you it's 6 minutes with Ernest Miller and he needs to get over this finish, that's your job. You know
Right.
what I mean? But you got 6 minutes, you can do a lot in 6 minutes. So you had to know that. If you didn't know it, they'd get somebody else. If you didn't do a good job, they'd have somebody else in there. So I think they thought highly of me in the sense that I looked good on TV, my work looked good, and I could get the guy over they needed to. And if they ever wanted to do something with me, they could. There was 180 wrestlers under contract in 1998, which I know is nothing now, but back then it was quite a bit. And 170 of those guys were well-known people, by the way. They weren't guys just signed off independent. I was talking about Wayne Bloom and Mike Enos and Nails was under contract. I mean, there's everybody was somebody. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, and then how many spots do they need to fill? There just wasn't enough spots, um, for everybody. So they needed underneath guys. I call them. Some
Sure.
people call them. I think you need underneath guys to have top guys. And to me, an underneath guy is a guy that looks good, is a good wrestler. Maybe doesn't win all the time. He wins once in a while, but the top guy, it's like he's beating something. So I think they had a lot of us as underneath guys, but like I said before, you could always change an underneath guy, and you could do it in one day, like they did with Barry. I mean, the Brooklyn Brawler got Bobby Heenan as a manager. Bobby Heenan was a main eventer, so he
Right.
took another guy that was. They told everyone this guy's good, but he gets beaten every match. Well, guess what? Now he's beating up guys. I mean, just it's how they can. It's a movie, man. They can change the script at any time, and they know how to do it in a way to get the people to go along with it. So the point is, no, I never asked questions. I said, hey, how come I'm not going over? I never, I like I said, I wasn't taught that. And even if I wasn't, if no one said anything, I would still know that that's just not, it's a privilege to be in this profession. And when you're 5'10" and a little over 200 pounds and you're not, I wasn't a super athlete. I was just grateful to be there. And I was happy with what they were giving me. 8-minute match with Prince Iak on Nitro is nothing to sneeze about. You know what I mean? I'm proud of that
Sure.
kind of stuff. And I wrestled Chavo in the Georgia Dome in front of 40,000 people. It's the biggest house. It
Wow.
was the biggest gate in the history of WCW. So I
Was that
mean,
when Hogan beat Goldberg beat Hogan?
right.
Got
Yeah,
it. Okay.
that was
Wow.
it. So wow, what an exciting. And then Chavo was a great guy to work with. We made a good match, and he got the fall. There's someone's got to win, somebody's got to lose. You know what I mean? And someone comes up with, I had a guy come up to me in a gym once, and he goes, "Man, I saw you lose on 3 different channels this weekend." I said, "What channel were you on?" You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we were wrestling in front of millions of people. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That Saturday night TBS 605 show was doing 1.5 million people, and they canceled it because they said it was too low ratings. I don't know what they're doing today, but I don't think it's that much.
They're not. No.
I know Raw is, but some of them aren't. It's all about viewership. And you know
Right.
I feel like when I was young in these years, that I became a master of looking good no matter what they gave me. If it was 2 minutes with Virgil, I could still make some guy or some kid come, like Kid Romeo became a wrestler. He came up to me, he goes, "Swinger," he goes, "I watched you and I see the way you were built. You always had good outfits and you'd always do something in the match that would stand out. It made me want to be a wrestler." And then that guy went on to become a named wrestler in the bit. So you can look good with whatever they give you.
Right.
It's up to you, you know.
If promoters want to reach you, if people want to book you, where can they do that?
I'm all the big social media on, it's called X now, right? At Swinger underscore Johnny, Johnny underscore Swinger on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook as well. Easy to find, hard to get. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm easy to get either. I'm not cheap, but I'm affordable.